I'm very impressed. I understand.
I'm going to write this down. Now you're
Me too.
make sure to come back. Wow. I'll get that on
Can't get rid of this.
I went through it for 3 weeks. I couldn't shake it either.
What is it, allergies?
Yeah. It's,
Can't get rid of it.
you know anything about that?
Well,
We're not live yet.
we pull the trigger and along the line. We're ready to go live, so it's ready when you well, Chris, I'm just letting you know all our ITs. Sure. You ready?
Yeah, don't make my thing.
Oh, what about my stuff?
They said the
I'm
live
kidding.
feed's not up yet.
Just kidding.
I don't know.
Okay. I'm going to try to do this without messing up the... Good. Good afternoon. My name is Chris Hegstrom. I am the Director of Media Relations for the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. I want to take a moment to welcome a couple people here. Obviously, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, Mike Zullo standing behind, and then sitting down is Bob Corbin, who is the former county attorney, former board of supervisor, former attorney general for the state of Arizona, and past president of the NRA. Thank you for being here, Bob.
And helping Joe.
And helping Joe, right? Today, Sheriff Arpaio information to you on a case that they've been working since August of 2011. Since the beginning of this investigation, you, the media, have continued to mischaracterize the nature of this investigation. So you're going to hear this more than once today, but this investigation was never about where President Obama was born. This is about a document that was presented to the general public through the White House and purported to be a factual document. Today you're going to hear lots of information that some of you are going to understand and are going to be able to tell the true story. In fact, please know that this is a very technical, but the evidence is clear if you'll pay attention. Please note you're going to hear about two separate experts. These experts are two separate continents with no knowledge of each other, and they draw similar conclusions. Again, that said, I know some of you are going to get this story and are going to tell the story the way it was. However, there's going to be others here today who will continue to malign this sheriff and Mike Zullo in order to show that you haven't been wrong for many years while covering this story. All I ask is that you are respectful during the presentation of the information. Here's Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
Thank you. You know, thank you for showing up. Back in 2011, about 250 members of the surprise Tea Party came to me and asked me to investigate President Obama's birth certificate, since they believe evidence showed that the certificate was a fraud. I agreed to look into the matter, and with Chief Investigator Mike Zullo, we initiated an investigation. At this time, and to this day, I stated that I did not care where the president was born. Had nothing to do with that. But we were going to investigate a possible government forged document. Hope you get that straight. I've been saying that from day one since 2011. Today you will be presented with an in-depth executive summary of our investigation into the matter, which we now have concluded to be a fraudulently created document which has been represented as an official copy of the original birth certificate of President Obama. We and anyone else who dared to question the document have been maligned, falsely labeled, grossly criticized in the bulk of the media on certain internet sources for years. Today, we're going to set the record straight. I believe you will be shocked by what you hear and see today. Also, the implications will be profound. All we have ever wanted was the truth in this matter, with the great hope that the document was indeed a valid representation of the original document. Think of that. We were trying to clear the president. It didn't work out that way. We had to follow the evidence. We let the evidence determine the direction of the investigation. That's what we always do on any investigation. You get the evidence. This one was handled no differently than no matter what the investigation is about. So now, the important part is to present the pertinent details and the executive summary of our analysis. I'm going to turn this over to Mike Zullo, who dedicated 5 years of his life, 5 years of his life, taking this mission on, which I asked him to do 5 years ago. Mike, come on up and.
Thank you, Sheriff. I want to start by trying to give everyone here, including the media that's been viciously against us from the beginning, an understanding of how I tried to conduct this investigation. I believe in 2012 we did 2 press conferences. In those press conferences, I had made it clear that Sheriff Arpaio's original mandate to me was, Mike, take a look at this, clear this document, because I want to be the guy that clears this document and moves this country forward. This is no good. That was the mandate. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. Like the sheriff just told you, when you conduct criminal investigations, you have to let the evidence lead you. You never lead the evidence. And in doing this, my motive was to clear the document. Because to be quite honest with you, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe this was possible. I didn't think this would ever happen in this nation. I didn't believe it. Back in 2012, I told you about Reed Hayes, the document examiner. Let me tell you about Reed Hayes, a man with 40 years, since 1974, 40-plus years of experience in examining forensic document, handwriting, a man who's well-respected in his expertise, a court-recognized expert, a document examiner. He is the man you go to when somebody gives you a bad check with a bad signature. This is the guy you run to. Law firms use him all the time. He's been maligned. And let me tell you something about Mr. Hayes. When I contacted Mr. Hayes told me right off the bat, I'm an Obama supporter. I voted for him twice. He goes, and I will never do anything to hurt the President of the United States. What I had said to him was, Reed, I am not asking you to hurt the President of the United States. I'm asking you to take a look at this document and clear it and tell me there's nothing wrong with it. Would you at least do that? And he took a look at it. And when he called me back, he told me, Mike, I can't clear this. There's something wrong with it. And I asked him, I said, Reed, would you continue? I said, I know your position, but would you continue? And his answer to me was, this is what I do. I'll look at it. I'll do it. That's a man of integrity, respecting what his ability is to get to the truth. Because for Sheriff Arpaio and myself, this was never about Barack Obama. This is about a document. You take that document and you remove the name Barack Hussein Obama and put your name on there. If it was your document and it was brought to us, we would do the same thing with this document. This document was being investigated from the only way that I ever knew how to do it. You look to prove the guilty party innocent, the one you suspect. If you can prove him innocent, you don't put the wrong guy in jail. But when you try to prove him innocent and the evidence starts to stack up, now you change because the guilt is coming to the top. That's the way this was done. Jerry Corsi and WND. I grilled Jerry Corsi for 16 hours. This is no joke. I didn't believe anything he was showing me until he showed me one document. Everybody thinks it's the Obama document. When I had said that in the past, it wasn't. Jerry Corsi and WND, they were onto something. I'm not so sure they knew it was going to go the way it's going now, but they were onto something. And what we're going to show you today is information that you have never seen before. It was information that was developed by the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office in assistance with actually the gentleman who makes my videos, Mr. Mark Galar. Mark Galar has a unique ability when it comes to digital software and this whole video thing that he does. And Mark Galar and I were on a Skype call. Felt like years. We would go back and forth for years. And at one point, I did alert Mr. Galar to what I was suspecting, and we began to work at it together. What I'm going to do right now is I am going to let the video play in its entirety. Then I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to clear some things up. And then I'm going to let it play one more time, and I'm going to stop it periodically and address some things. I really want you to sit back and have an open mind, because what you're going to see is we utilized forensic document examiners, Reed Hayes in Hawaii, and a company named Forlab in Italy. And I have two different disciplines. I have Reed Hayes, a document examiner, Forlab's forensic digital technicians. Forlabs trains law enforcement throughout Europe. Forlab's specialty is child pornography cases. Forlabs, everybody in that building is a PhD with math equations that, my God, I've never seen in my life. These guys know their stuff. And I'm going to tell you what I respect about both of them. Both Reed Hayes and Marco at Forlabs stayed true to their discipline. One of the tests you do when you have an expert, you want to make sure your expert isn't trying to run you for the money. If I can push the expert, that's not a guy I want. these men could not be pushed. This is their findings, this is how they see it, and this is how they're calling it. So I'm going to run this video for you, and I want you to understand this has nothing to do with anything we ever did before. It doesn't negate what we did before, and I'll explain that. It is new, and it's profound, and it's quite disturbing. So let me play the video for you now, and then we'll move on.
You are looking at two long-form birth certificates from the state of Hawaii. According to the dates on the certificates, these births took place in Honolulu during the month of August in 1961, just 16 days apart. The birth certificate on the left belongs to Barack Obama. The birth certificate on the right belongs to Johanna Ani. After 5 years of intense investigation, which included consultation with one of America's most respected forensic document examiners and a team of European media forensic experts, the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office has reached a conclusion utilizing forensic techniques both old and new. It is the opinion of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office that the birth certificate on your right belonging to Johanna Ani was in fact used as a source document in the digital creation of Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate. 9 points of forgery in which words, letters, and hand-placed date stamps have been digitally copied from the Ani long-form birth certificate and pasted onto Obama's long-form birth certificate. We'll look at the first 5 points of forgery together, since they were brought over from the Ani document in one group. Now let's drop out the Ani document as a background and view that again. Now let's look at the date stamps in box 20 and 22. In this case, the stamps were brought over one at a time. But as we do this experiment, ask yourself, what are the odds that 2 stamps in 2 separate boxes, stamped by hand 16 days apart, would have the exact same angle in box 20 and the exact same angle in box 22? First, we'll look at the left stamp. Now the right stamp. It should be pointed out that these stamps were looked at by 2 separate document examiners who specialize in 2 separate forensic disciplines and who reside on 2 different continents. Both agree that these angles are identical on both the Obama document and the Ani document. Let's watch that again without all of the background clutter. It should be noted that Susan and Gretchen Nordyke were born 5 minutes from each other and have consecutive serial numbers. Therefore, their date stamps ostensibly would have been put on back to back. But as you can see, looking at the leftmost date stamps underlined in red and looking at the rightmost date stamps underlined in blue, there is no similarity in terms of the angle of the date stamps. How ironic that Barack Obama's birth certificate and Johanna Ani's birth certificate, which were stamped 16 days apart, are identical in angle, according to two separate disciplines within the world of forensic document examination, and yet the Nordite twins, born 5 minutes from each other, stamped back to back, don't show any similarity in angles. We've made a number of references to angles so far. The reason for that is if you're going to take an item off of one document and place it onto another, the angle is going to remain the same unless you intentionally alter it after you place it on the second document. Watch. When you have two separate documents with two hand-placed date stamps at the same angles, it should be obvious that a forgery has taken place. For the next example, we'll need to zoom in a little bit. Now we are going to focus on boxes 6D and 6E within the Obama PDF. Both X's were taken directly from box 6D in the Ani long-form birth certificate. In fact, not only was the X pulled over, but the box itself was pulled over, and various parts of the line on top of the X were also pulled over, according to forensic document experts. Next, we'll drop the ID document out of the picture, except for the items that were used to create the Obama birth certificate.
Now, I know when you see that the first time, kind of looking at it, trying to figure out, okay, what does all this really mean? The date stamps that are at the lower angle of the document. Let me try to start this again if I could freeze it.
You are looking at two long-form birth.
You're going to see the date stamps that are in the lower corners of both documents. Now, yes, they have a different date, but the month and year is correct. That document has been in Maricopa County Sheriff's Office possession since the end of 2011. Actually, I took it from Jerry Corsi. Those stamps on those lower left and right corners, we had made a transparency after we got the document, and we laid those stamps one on top of the other. They were close, but not an exact match. And in what we do, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. This needed to be an exact match, and it wasn't. And we had looked at this and looked at this on and off for a couple years. In the meantime, there are operatives, paid operatives, that do anything they can to undermine this investigation and anybody that comes in favor of this investigation. Started throwing out this notion that a 7655 Xerox copier was the forger. Well, newsflash for them, it's not. The 7655, while it does have an ability to replicate some anomalies, it does not do it as presented in the Obama document. We purchased a 7655 Xerox copier. It took us over a year and a half to find someone who still had the correct software from 2011 to install in the machine. 4 labs determined what are called quantization settings in computers, mathematical algorithms. They could get very close to that 2011 software, but again, it wasn't exact. We needed to find the software. We located the software. We loaded the software in the machine. We initiated scanning campaigns, 70, 80 different ways to run the document. In every one of those campaigns, we could not exactly replicate the number of layers, the number of links, and the way information comes over. But these findings that I'm presenting you today have something different than every other circumstance. My goal at that point was we needed to get away from this 7655 copier and these digital forensics problems, these computer-generated issues, and I needed to look at this document completely different. In doing that, I contacted Mark Gallar again, and I asked Mark if he would do me a favor. I said, Mark, would you please make me an overlay video so I can show this to the sheriff? I know there's something here, I'm just not finding it. Mark agrees to make the video, and as Mark is doing the video, he contacts me and he goes, I figured it out. Now, I want you to understand something. I have to stay as neutral in this as possible. I did not want to be the guy that ever figured anything out. I wanted to be the clearinghouse, because what I was going to do was send whatever we found across the globe to Hawaii and Italy and have independent forensics examiners from 2 different disciplines either conclude or completely disagree with each other. That was my methodology. That's why I'm telling you, the evidence took us, we didn't take the evidence. When Mark calls me, what he realized was the ANI original certificate that was issued in 1995 by the state of Hawaii had been put on a copier at the Department of Health in Hawaii, and it was a little offset by like 1.5 degrees. And when Mark made the adjustment, those date stamps lined up perfectly. So we stopped, and I sent it to Italy, and I sent it to Hawaii, and I waited. And Italy did all kinds of mathematical formulas, and that's all going to be in their report that's going to get turned over somewhere else. And they called me up and they told me that those stamps match exactly. And in talking with Marco, I asked him, I said, Marco, look, I gotta talk to you now, not like a scientist. I gotta talk to you like an investigator. In my mind, you can't have the same corresponding date stamp in the same corresponding box at the same corresponding angles on 2 separate documents that if we believe the Obama certificate is real, they're 16 days apart in creation. And if we don't believe the Obama certificate is real, I have a 54-year-old copy of an original document that was created 16 years ago. I don't think you can do that. And Marco told me that he didn't think you could either because he tried and he was unable to. Waited for Reed Hayes. Reed Hayes contacts me and he tells me, this you can't do, this is impossible. Reed Hayes, who is an educator in his field, told me he tells all his students you will never be able to replicate something exactly by human hand. If it's replicated exactly, there's going to be some other kind of intervention. It's not by human hand. So now I have 2 document examiners telling me the same thing. Italy has a scientific protocol. They can only gauge probability by the amount of source documents that are provided to them. We only had 9 real birth certificates. I mean, you just can't go out in the street and get Hawaii birth certificates. So they were hindered by 9. Examining those date stamps And when I tell you about the other issues in the document, they concluded that it is 1,000 times more probable that the document is inauthentic. They also concluded that if they had a greater sampling, that number would be higher, because they have concluded that that document, it is highly improbable, next to impossible, that you will find another document with every anomaly we just showed you. And I'm going to read you some of their quotes in a minute. Reed Hayes, on the other hand, Reed Hayes said, that's forgery. He goes, that's impossible. I called Mark Galar back. I go, Mark, now that we got the date stamps, we need to start looking at the document. We're both looking at the machine at the same time. He's in Texas, I'm here. And he starts to line up the 6-1 that's on the top by the serial number of the birth certificate. And as he does that, all of a sudden, the word Oahu in the center of the page lines up. So I was like, wow, that's strange. I said, Mark, do me a favor. I want you to please go down this document and start matching up every letter and every word, because I think it's going to unlock. And that's what he does. And he calls me back, and he had found those matches that you've seen from the Ani certificate matched exactly to the Obama certificate. It's called textual juxtaposition. In other words, they are in the same relationship to each other no matter where you put them. In other words, somebody took that little X in that corner box. When I play this video again, you're going to watch it differently now. Use that as a point of reference and picked up 3 or 4 other words and moved them over. Sent that to Reed Hayes. Sent that to Italy. Italy concludes, yeah, you know what? You can go to a document. You might find a word that might line up like that. Improbable that you're going to find the number of words that line up like this. Reed Hayes. Reed Hayes is different. Reed Hayes is an old school document examiner. Oh, that's impossible. That can't happen. He goes, but Mike, I found something else. Reed Hayes discovered the little X's in 2 other boxes were identical to an X in the Ani certificate. Not only was the X identical, but the X, the box, and the word above were all taken at once, because you couldn't just take the X. Reed Hayes, to me personally, said, Mike, that's like you getting a fingerprint. He said, that's impossible. Reed Hayes also focused on the signature of Stanley Ann Dunham in the Obama certificate. Reed Hayes doesn't believe that's an original signature. He believes it's been piecemealed together. And I'm going to do this. I was going to read a lot of stuff to you, but I'd rather you see the video. I want to read to you Reed Hayes' conclusion this time. Reed Hayes, 40 years, a true professional. The man's a professional. The evidence noted herein is clear and convincing proof that the Obama certificate of live birth posted on whitehouse.gov on April 27, 2011 is a fraudulently manufactured document. Evidence indicates that this certificate of live birth of Johanna Ani is one source utilized in the construction of the certificate of live birth. Reed Hayes' own words, the parentheses, nail in the coffin, close parentheses, that provides the certificate of live birth is inauthentic, is the exact lineup of numerous entries on both the certificate of live birth and the Ani certificate. That's a fraudulent document. You don't get a clearer definition than a fraudulent document. This has nothing to do with the 7655 copier. That copier is irrelevant to our information. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office in 2012, twice, did not divulge to you everything we were working on, but I did give you a hint. I told you I went to Sheriff Arpaio and I said, Sheriff, there's another way at this thing. There's something wrong here. This information that we have just shared with you is evidence. We are in possession of the certificate. Now, going back to Hawaii, And I want to clear something up, because I said it in 2012, and I'm going to say it again. This office, the county, was going to be reimbursed for the expenses of Deputy Brian Makowitz to the tune of $9,600, I believe. We presented a check. Politics got involved, and trying to shame this sheriff, decided not to take our check. This sheriff didn't spend the money. We were prepared to reimburse the general fund for whatever the expense was, and we had a check in hand. So I really want that corrected on the record. This sheriff held true to his word. So true, bear me out, I couldn't get a paper clip out of this office. I was lucky I got 2 letters on stationery, because I had to make him sign them. But that was it. So he was true to his word. No matter how many times I say that in the media, they try to hang that on him. That was politics. We were prepared to pay it, and they refused to take our money. That's on the county. That's not on us. In Hawaii, we went there for 2 purposes. Again, our intention was to clear the document. And I am going to be really candid with you. I am not a Democrat. I am a Republican. I'm a conservative. I'm everything a lot of people hate. I would have loved to have been the guy to clear this document and take this weight off of the president, off of the country, and off of the sheriff. I could not do that. And you're faced with a dilemma, because about half the country is going to hate you. The other half might think you're a hero, but you know what? That doesn't matter, because the half that hates you hard. But you have to be true to your discipline. You have to be true to who you are. This is about the truth. And there were a couple times I went to the sheriff and I said, you know, Sheriff, we may find out that we're wrong on this. First thing out of his mouth, well, we're all at the press conference, we're going to tell the world we were wrong. You're right, we are. And there were a couple times I started to question this. I don't question it anymore. The only time I question it is as I'm writing up report after report, I still question, did this happen? Did this really happen here? When we were in Hawaii, Detective Makowitz and I, for the purpose of trying to clarify the issue, we did go to the Department of Health in Hawaii. Yes, they did call the police on us. Yes, they didn't want to talk to us, but we did sit down. And we sat down with Jill Nagamini, a deputy attorney general for the state of Hawaii. And I told this story once, but I'm going to tell it to you again because it's got great importance. In the dialogue that went back and forth, it was very clear to Detective Makowitz and I that this was a no-go topic for them. And in that dialogue, I proposed in the exchange to an attorney. I said to her, if I gave you a copy of my driver's license, because for some reason it needed to be displayed across the World Wide Web, and you took that driver's license and you made a photocopy of it, but you changed some stuff around, and you put it on the web, have you displayed my driver's license? Now, the proper answer is no, that's an altered document. Her answer to me was, but you still have a driver's license. That was alarming to me. That was alarming to me. The next follow-up from her was, does the public have a right to see your driver's license? Which I responded, if I say I'm going to proffer it publicly, they most certainly do, and they most certainly do be assured that it's mine. Those set off alarm bells. Both Detective Makowitz and I walked out, we're walking on the sidewalk, thanking God we didn't get thrown out with the cops, because they were the biggest 2 cops I've ever seen in my life. And we both concurred, there's something wrong here. They're avoiding what we were asking, and what we were asking was this. We already knew that they had released this verification. This verification and other verifications like it are cleverly worded to give you the impression that the verification is verifying the image that you see up here. That is not the fact. They are verifying the information in whatever you show them. They are verifying that there is a birth record on file that has this information in it. Well, when you start to study the Hawaii statutes, you realize there are ways to amend a certificate that turns the real certificate into a sequestered record in another file, and the amended information now becomes the original birth document. And that could happen 54, 64, 100 years later. So what they're saying to us is, we're not validating that image, we're just validating some of the stuff in it. Legally, truthful answer, but also misleading, because you have no way to determine, was this an amended certificate? I want to jump real quick to the birth announcements that are in the paper. I contacted the microfilm company that has them. I have them in microfilm. There is an oddity. I will grant you this. There is an oddity. In that section of the paper, those birth records from one newspaper to another are completely identical in positioning. They're identical. And in the other sections of the paper, they're not. That honestly is suspicious to me. It truly is. But the other thing is, there's been no paper ever surface. No hard copy Arizona paper from the time period has ever surfaced. We can only go by the best evidence we have, and those look good. When I was in Washington 4 times, I went to the Library of Congress, checked those out. They're in there. But here's the problem with those. They don't tell you anything. Hawaii law says that the Department of Health in Hawaii must create a birth certificate merely on the representation from anyone that a birth has taken place. It doesn't tell you anything. Somebody just reported it. So let's give that benefit of the doubt. Let's say that's true. Now you run into Kapolani Medical Center. Kapolani Medical Center we visited. I would have rather been thrown out by the cops than a Kapolani Medical Center, because they told us to get out. They told us they're not going to deal with this. This is nothing that they have to do. We're a private organization, and we have no authority there, and we're not going to help you. Okay. We've gone to 2 places that could have cleared this issue up. I tried. Nobody would cooperate. We come back. We're still sitting here now with this document. We interviewed Johanna Ani twice. In both those interviews, I'm not going to go into the details of those, but I'm going to let you understand that Johanna Ani maintains that her birth certificate was in her possession since 1995 in her locked file cabinet, and the only time she took it out was at a request of a friend to show it to Jerry Corsi. Jerry Corsi does confirm he took possession of her document, but it was about 10 days after the release of the Obama certificate. Now, obviously, I'm not in Hawaii, and I can't pursue this any further. So, Johanna Ani is not a suspect. There's another woman, Mickey Booth, has been labeled a suspect. She was the friend. She's not a suspect. These people that go out and say these things should really watch what they're saying. Those people are not suspects. However, Johanna Ani is still an investigative lead as far as we are concerned, because I can't validate the rest of the story. But we're in possession of the document that is a source document as far as this is concerned. I'm going to play that video one more time. I think I'm just going to play it one more time in its entirety. Then I'm just going to show you the conclusion in our video, and I'm going to turn this back over to Sheriff Arpaio. But what you're seeing here is the information is taken, the stamps were taken, the X's were taken, and I've got 2 different forensic examiners concurring that it's fake. It's a fabrication. This carries federal penalties. And understand one other thing. The state of Hawaii has done everything they can to stay away from validating that image. Let me back up. I went and spoke with Secretary of State Bennett back when the ballot challenge was going on. And if I remember right, he was in that challenge before we even got involved. We had nothing to do with this. And I do believe he was trying to do the right thing. But he sent a number of letters back and forth, and they kept stonewalling him. And then he got a phone call. And according to him, from Hawaii, he was told how to reword his request. Well, what that does is that takes the request and puts it in the category of a validation of a birth event in lieu of issuing a certificate, which made it easier for them to validate it. And when you read these validations, you got to read through them. There's another validation out there, I think it was in a Mississippi court case, where in the validation, it even puts the White House website address in it. But you got to read what it says. They're not validating the image. They're validating the information. And we have no idea how that information got there. Simple to understand, the dilemma, because the Director of Health previously says she saw the record in a bound volume sitting where it should be on a shelf. The incoming governor can't find it. And they look for it. And now they can't find it in this bound volume. Now they find it in the state archives, half typed, half written. Well, which was it? Was it in the bound volume? Or is it sitting in a pile of papers? And then all of a sudden, it mysteriously makes its way back to a bound volume. We have no idea what's on that birth certificate. We have no idea if there was a birth certificate. We have no idea if somebody just wrote something down and through some nice legal maneuvering created a birth event. We don't know. We just simply don't know. We don't know where Mr. Obama was born, nor that was not something we're here to find out. We don't know that. We don't know if he's a natural-born citizen or not. I don't think the country knows what the definition of that is anymore. That wasn't anything that we were pursuing. We're pursuing the document. So let me play this one more time for you because it's getting late. I want to show you this evidence all over again, and I really want you to sit back now, think about what I just shared with you, and see how this comes.
From the state of Hawaii. According to the dates on the certificates, these births took place in Honolulu during the month of August in 1961, just 16 days apart. The birth certificate on the left belongs to Barack Obama. The birth certificate on the right belongs to Johanna Ani. After 5 years of intense investigation, which included consultation with one of America's most respected forensic document examiners and a team of European media forensic experts, the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office has reached a conclusion utilizing forensic techniques both old and new. It is the opinion of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office that the birth certificate on your right belonging to Johanna Ani was in fact used as a source document in the digital creation of Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate. 9 points of forgery in which words, letters, and hand-placed date stamps have been digitally copied from the Ani long-form birth certificate and pasted onto Obama's long-form birth certificate. We'll look at the first 5 points of forgery together, since they were brought over from the Ani document in one group.
I really want that to sink in. These were taken as one group. That's why relationally they are proportionate to each other. That's a key factor here.
Now let's drop out the Ani document as a background and view that again. Now let's look at the date stamps in box 20 and 22. In this case, the stamps were brought over one at a time. But as we do this experiment, ask yourself, what are the odds that 2 stamps in 2 separate boxes, stamped by hand 16 days apart, would have the exact same angle in box 20 and the exact same angle in box 22? First, we'll look at the left stamp. Now the right stamp. pointed out that these stamps were looked at by two separate document examiners who specialize in two separate forensic disciplines and who reside on two different continents. Both agreed that these angles are identical on both the Obama document and the Ani document. Let's watch that again without all of the background clutter. It should be noted that Susan and Gretchen Nordike were born 5 minutes from each other and have consecutive serial numbers. Therefore, their date stamps ostensibly would have been put on back to back. But as you can see, looking at the leftmost date stamps underlined in red and looking at the rightmost date stamps underlined in blue, there is no similarity in terms of the angle of the date stamps. How ironic that Barack Obama's birth certificate and Johanna Ani's birth certificate, which were stamped 16 days apart, are identical in angle according to two separate disciplines within the world of forensic document examination, and yet the Nordike twins, born 5 minutes from each other, stamped back to back, don't show any similarity in angles. We've made a number of references to angles so far. The reason for that is if you're going to take an item off of one document and place it onto another, the angle is going to remain the same unless you intentionally alter it after you place it on the second document. Watch.
Here's what we think we know about that. Whoever created this document wasn't thinking about angles or relationship to other things. That was the giveaway in the date stamps. What that is telling you is, no matter where you place that date, its angle of trajectory will be identical. It will be the same unless you manually go in and change it. This was one of the things that began the free fall of this document collapsing upon itself. The position of words, by using a small X as the point of reference and dragging them all over, this individual wasn't thinking about their relational positions.
When you have two separate documents with two hand-placed date stamps at the same angles, it should be obvious that a forgery has taken place. For the next example, we'll need to zoom in a little bit. Now we are going to focus on boxes 6D and 6E within the Obama PDF. Both X's were taken directly from box 6D in the Ani long-form birth certificate. In fact, not only was the X pulled over, but the box itself was pulled over, and various parts of the line on top of the X were also pulled over, according to forensic document experts.
Those little X's, one of those X's was used twice. That's why they appear twice on the Obama certificate. It was the same X from only one box in the Hani certificate. What the document examiner Reed Hayes noticed was the X was above the box, but the ink was bleeding into the word on top of it. That's why they had to take the box, the X, and the word, because she couldn't separate it. So obviously, this document was a template of some sort, or a source. We're not entirely sure. I don't believe it was a template because of the positioning of these things. What they did on the date stamps, they didn't change the angles, but they just merely set them a little higher in the boxes. That was how they thought they were concealing it, but it doesn't change the angles. So I'm not sure what the document was. We know it's a source. We're a safe bet on that.
Next, we'll drop the ID document out of the picture, except for the items that were used to create the Obama birth certificate.
And that would have been the X utilized again. Again, this has nothing to do with any kind of computer forensics that we previously encountered. This has nothing to do with the 7655 copier. This has something to do with somebody that had a knowledge of cut and paste and Photoshop and God only knows what else. But unfortunately, those items, by forensics determination, 2 different disciplines, 2 different continents have come to the same conclusion. I guess that's a meeting of science. I guess that's something you say. I don't even know. But it's like a meeting of 2 minds. They both concur. And they came to that conclusion with different scientific principles. We're pretty confident in these results.
Now let's take a look at all the items that were taken from the ID document and used to digitally create Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate. There's the word Oahu the second time. 3 different texts. This is very significant because they would have been put in by sliding the carriage and adjusting the rope. The left date stamp and the right date stamp, which are both at the exact same angles as their counterparts on the ID document, even though they were stamped 16 days apart. Doesn't it just make sense that Alvin Onaka's stamp and the April 25th date stamp were lifted from someplace also? Ask yourself this question. If anyone presented you with a document in your life that was this suspect, would you readily accept it, or would you begin an intense vetting? Be it a house title, a car title, a piece of currency, anything. Would you accept something this suspect if presented to you in your life? If you answered no, then ask yourself a second question. Don't the American people have a right to vet the documents that they are presented by public officials? The following experts were consulted in preparation for today's report. Reed Hayes is a court-qualified handwriting and document examiner whose business is located in Honolulu. He has nearly 40 years of handwriting-related experience. Reed is a board member of the Scientific Association of Forensic Examiners and has co-authored 5 books. We also consulted 4 Labs, a modern-day multimedia forensics team in Italy that specializes in analyzing data retrieved from multimedia files. We had 2 experts in 2 continents from 2 separate disciplines of forensics that came to one conclusion. Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate is not authentic.
I want to point 2 things out before I turn this over to Sheriff Arpaio. Here and here. The presumption has to be that the state of Hawaii did not create the PDF file because they don't create PDF files. Legally, they can't create PDF files. It's also been said by the governor when these documents were purportedly released that these were handled in no different fashion than anything else. Yeah, okay. Those two stamps have to have been brought in either by a lift or by a stamping themselves, like a stamper. And we actually did go out for $25. We had a Kiko's make us Alvin Onaka stamp, no questions asked. We got a Bates stamper. The safety paper background, this green background. During this investigation, I interviewed a number of different states' vital statistics directors and their fraud investigators. We identified the safety paper used. I called the manufacturer. They confirmed for me that they are the manufacturer for Hawaii safety paper. To put this in contrast, the safety paper you see on the Barack Obama certificate could actually be replicated by what's called a swatch and replicate pattern. And we did that. We're not sure if that's what happened here or the safety paper was just scanned in and used. We're not sure. However, in talking with Department of Health officials, two things came to light, and I'll use Arizona as an example. Arizona's safety paper, back in 2012, so maybe it's 10 cents instead of 7 cents a sheet, but Arizona safety paper has a plethora of security threads and controls built into the document, including every sheet of paper is individually serialized. So that means that serial number of safety paper has to correspond to the registration number of that birth certificate. Arizona safety paper, I was told by their fraud investigator that if you can get that for 7 cents a sheet, but on the black market, one sheet of Arizona safety paper costs $500 because of the way it's protected. Comparably to Hawaii, we bought 500 sheets of this particular safety paper by the same manufacturer for $52, and then I really got mad when I went on eBay and found the same stuff for $11. You can buy this for 500 sheets for $11. I'm going to tell you this, and these professionals did agree with me. The safety paper problem, the lax birth certificate protocol that's uniformly followed throughout the country is severely lacking. This document, you could not have seen it in this fashion had the safety paper in Hawaii just been comparable to Arizona's. So something that we are going to ask for going forward, and we're going to pursue this politically, is we would like to see at least a standardization of security paper for birth documents that meet at least the standard of Arizona. If not, they can come up with something better. Because birth documents, to make a birth certificate, it is insanely easy. Trust me, we were fabricating them for 5 years. A printer, some paper, a template, Microsoft programs, a couple stamps. And let me tell you one other thing. The hard raised seal on the Obama certificate that the only person in the world said was Savannah Guthrie, who was ushered into a dark room to behold the certificate and felt the raised seal. There's a problem with that. That's okay, Bob, I won't hold it against you. There's a problem with that. Our analysis team has looked at that. One of the points of fabrication of the PDF file is a clipping mask that has been manually placed around the document. It's like a border. When you remove that mask, there are 2 pencil markings under the mask that it's been concealing. Also, that document has a very unique ghosting around the letters, which we were not able to replicate exactly in all our tests. The Savannah Guthrie document, not only does it display that unique ghosting, but it does not display the pencil marks that should have been there if it was an original hard copy document, because the pencil marks were applied after the document was scanned in. Four Labs also concludes that this document started as a PDF file, was printed out, and then rescanned, which is an anti-forensics technique. Additionally, the PDF file has no integrity to it because all the metadata has been erased. The metadata is the life history of building the document. It's missing. The document is utterly unreliable, and the document is inauthentic. We also discovered, and I'm not going to get into this because we really have to go, AP distributed White House photos of the birth certificate, purportedly that they took while they were there. Those are not AP photos. They are White House handout, JPEG images created by the White House. That means the White House has the ability to create JPEGs. In those files, those JPEGs were altered by Photoshop. Why are you creating Photoshopped enhanced JPEGs when you just have to take a picture of the document and put it up on the web? This document has been created. It's digitally been created. It is not real. The biggest question is, why? So this concludes where we are in this, and I'll bring this back to Sheriff Arpaio. Let him tell you where we're going from here, and we'll go from there. I'm going to shut this down for you, Sheriff.
You know, I listened to this 5 years ago. I said one thing: show us the microfiche, show us the birth certificate, and we'll all go home. Where is it to this day? Very interesting question. I don't have the answer, but somebody should have it. So I plan on turning over this investigation this month to the federal government and Congress, and hope that Congress, number one, will pass a law that presidents should be vented. Common sense. I think what's happened in the 8 years will kind of prove what I'm trying to get should be passed. Maybe some members of Congress will hold some hearings open to the public regarding this matter. You know, I kind of look at this, being a federal guy for 30 years, if they can hold hearings. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm just trying to send a message to Congress. If you can hold hearings on underflated footballs, why can't you hold one on this? Can't believe it. And look at our evidence. Look at it. Just look at it. This is tough for me to say, believe me, all you media know me. Sometimes I get diarrhea of the mouth. But I'm telling you right now, we're not going to answer any questions. There's more sensitive information that we have regarding this matter, and I'm not going into it. So I want to thank all the media for coming here. I hope we enlighten you of what the real story and evidence is all about regarding this fake birth certificate. Thank you.
Never give it up. What we believe in. Yeah, we're all American and we work real hard, like the barbecue up every July 4th. had a best friend with a funny last name and a weird accent. Now he's an astronaut, and we're all American. In God we trust, so living the dream and never giving up in what we believe in. Yeah, we're all American, and we work real hard, like the barbecue up every July 4th, and hot apple pie, baseball and friends. We're all American. We're all American. Land of the free, home of the brave. We stand together, that's why it's called the USA. And we're all American, and in God we trust, just living the dream and never giving up in what we believe in. Yeah, we're all American, and we work real hard, like the barbecue up every July 4th, and hot apple pie, baseball friends. We're all American. Yeah, we're all American. We're all American. Woo! I can just smell that apple pie right now. About time for a cold one. I'll make it a bud. That's red, white, blue, isn't it? That's all American.
If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. You say you want a revolution, well, you know, we all want to change the world. You tell me that it's evolution, well, you know, we all want to change the world. But when you talk about destruction, don't you know that you can count me out? Don't you know it's gonna be alright? Alright. Alright. You say you got a real solution, well, you know, we'd all love to see the plan. You ask me for a contribution, well, you know, we all doing what we can. But if you want money for people with minds that hate, all I can tell you is, brother, you have to wait. Don't you know it's gonna be alright? Alright. Alright. Constitution, well, you know, we all want to change your head. You tell me it's the institution, well, you know, you better free your mind instead. But if you go carrying pictures of Chairman Mao, you ain't gonna make it with anyone anyhow. Don't you know it's gonna be alright? Alright. Alright.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the next Vice President of the United States of America, Indiana Governor Mike Pence.
As she stood in the street, smiling from my head to her feet, I said, hey, what is this? Now, baby, maybe she's in need of a kiss. I said, hey, what's your name, baby? Maybe we can see
I'm Mike Pence. I'm from Indiana. And 35 days from today, because of your support, your hard work, and your prayers, I am deeply humbled to say, with my family at my side, I will take the oath of office to serve as the 48th Vice President. I came here tonight. I came here tonight on a very personal level just to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. But mostly I'm here as a fellow American to say thanks to the people of Pennsylvania. Thank you for voting to make America great again. Thank you for doing your part to make Donald Trump the 45th president of the United States of America. He did it. And we have all of you to thank. Thanks to you. Thanks to you, we'll have a president who will rebuild our military, restore the arsenal of democracy, provide our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines with the resources and training they need to accomplish their mission, and we will hunt down and destroy ISIS at its source. And thanks to you, we'll finally have a president who will stand with the men and women who serve in law enforcement at every level across this country. And thanks to you, 35 days from today, we will have a president who will fight every day to put America back to work and make this economy great again. We'll have a president who will repeal Obamacare lock, stock, and barrel, and replace it with free market reforms. We'll have a president who will cut taxes, roll back excessive regulations that are stifling jobs, and we'll have a president who will repeal every single executive order signed by Barack Obama that violates the Constitution. And we'll have a president who will unleash the boundless potential of the American energy economy with an all-of-the-above energy strategy, because Trump digs coal. And we'll have a president who will put American workers and American jobs first. We're going to have trade in America, but trade's going to mean American jobs with President Donald Trump. And thanks to you, we're going to have a president who at last will enforce all the laws of this nation for the citizens of this nation and those who are here legally. We will build a law. And we will have a president who will end illegal immigration once and for all. And thanks to you. Thanks to you, Pennsylvania, we're going to have a government as good as our people again. Government that works every day for the people of this country, not the special interests. We'll reform our ethics, laws, and come January 20th, we're going to drain the swamp. Lastly, thanks to all of you here in Pennsylvania. We're going to have a President of the United States who will make appointments to the highest court in the land, who will uphold the sanctity of life, the Second Amendment, and all the God-given liberties and so I'm really here just to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for giving America a new president whose strength, whose vision, whose leadership will make America great again faster than you can possibly imagine. So allow me to say from a grateful heart, Pennsylvania, it is my high honor privilege to introduce to you the President-elect of the United States of America, Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm here today for one main reason, to say thank you to the incredible people of Pennsylvania. Thank you. This is the first time the Republican Party has won the state of Pennsylvania in almost 30 years. We made history together. You propelled to victory a grassroots movement, the likes of which the world has never, ever seen. It's true. Your drive, your dedication, and your love for your country pushed us across the finish line. And boy, did we get across that line, right? The patriots in this arena tonight stood up for themselves and for their families and showed the whole world that the American people still run our country. I will never forget you, and I will never, ever stop fighting for you. I will never, ever let you down, believe me. What a state. What a state. Well, I went to school in Pennsylvania, right? Let me take a moment now to recognize your great congressmen in attendance tonight. They were with me from the beginning. Lou Barletta, where's Lou? Tom Marino. And Tim Murphy. And I just see in the audience, I didn't know he was here, Jeffrey Lord. Oh, he fights so hard. Oh, that Jeffrey. It's so unfair. They stack up 7-1, but he handles it. CNN, they stack it up against him. They are not happy with the results of this election, and it was a stampede. Uh-oh, their camera just went off, folks. Jeffrey, their camera just went off. I also want to give a very special thank you to the men and women of the United States military. Incredible. We're in your debt, and we will never let you down. As part of our commitment to those who serve, we're going to rebuild our badly depleted military, and we are going to finally take care of our great veterans. We're going to take care of them. Our defense policy can be summed up in 3 very important words: peace through strength. We're going to get the military going, folks, and we are going to negotiate tougher deals. Do we agree? Where we get more equipment for less money. For instance, you saw the other day about an airplane. Now, I have a nice airplane, but this plane is going to cost $4.2 billion. Air Force One. I don't want a plane to fly around it that costs $4.2 billion, believe me. Not gonna happen. But we're gonna work with Boeing, and I didn't order it, please remember this. But we're gonna work with Boeing. We're gonna cut the price way down. Way, way down. Totally out of control. So we're going to get more equipment for our military, and we're going to get better equipment for our military at a smaller price. Does that make sense? Okay? Believe me. We're also going to stop trying to build new nations in far-off lands, many areas you've never even heard of these places. Okay? We're going to stop. We're going to be so strong. We're going to be so respected. We're going to be so powerful. We're not respected now, and believe me, it's going to turn. And we're going to have this great, incredible, powerful military, but you know what? I don't think we're ever going to have to use it, and that would be very, very nice. It's America first. Be very, very nice. Instead, thank you. Instead, my administration will focus squarely on the vital national security interests of the United States. And that means crushing ISIS and defeating radical Islamic terrorism. We're going to defeat it quickly. But to be a strong nation, we must also be a wealthy or a rich nation. Some people say, Mr. Trump. Now they say, Mr. President-elect. Can you believe it?
Can you believe this? Just call me Donald, folks. Just call me Donald. But they say, Mr. President-elect, it doesn't sound good when you say rich nation. I say we have to be a rich nation if we're going to rebuild our military. If we're going to build the wall, we have to be a rich nation. If we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare, we have to know what we're doing. And we have to be a wealthy nation again. Whether it's building cars, producing steel, or curing disease, we want the next generation of innovation and production to happen right here in America, and right here in the great state of Pennsylvania. And I have to tell you about Pennsylvania. So, you know, they were all saying, you just don't win Pennsylvania. Everybody thought for years and years that they were going to win Pennsylvania as a Republican. They call it the bride that got away, right? This is such an important state, and they were saying he won't win it. He's down in the polls. And I didn't understand it because all of these gentlemen back here, and these are tremendous people that love you, your congressman, they were saying every yard in Pennsylvania has a Trump-Pence sign, right? And we'd go to rallies, like, look at the size of this place. Every corner is packed. Now, the press won't say it. Hey, press, turn the cameras. Show them, please. Show them. Show them. World's most dishonest people. These are dishonest people. Are any cameras? No, they're not turning. Look, they never turn. They never turn. What a shame. Very dishonest people. Very, very dishonest people. You know, the only way, you know how crowd, like you take a look at this crowd, right? The only way people sitting at home know is by the sound. By the sound. That is not the sound of 500 or 1,000 people, folks. And outside it's freezing, and we have 8,000 people standing out there listening. So, but Pennsylvania is an amazing place, and I've been hearing, and I don't know if you want me, because I know you've been listening. You know, what we're doing is a thank you tour. Thank you, Ohio. Thank you, Iowa. Thank you to the different places where we won, swing states mostly, but different places that we won. And by the way, we won in a landslide. This was a landslide victory. This was a landslide. And so we went to Michigan. How about Michigan and Wisconsin? How good was that? That was on top of everything. And you know, they didn't want to call Pennsylvania. You saw that, right? Remember? It was stuck at 99% all night long. And if I lost 100% of the remaining votes, I would have won by a lot of votes. But it was stuck for hours and hours. Now, I don't know if they did that because they were so devastated at what was happening, or because they wanted to keep it going because they were making it. You hear the audience they had? The audience was record-setting. And I think they wanted maybe to prolong the evening for commercial sake, right? But it's one of those two reasons. Maybe it's both. But I will tell you, and I've been going and I've been saying this, I said it the other night in Wisconsin, and if you want, I'll give you a little recap of the night. Should I or not? No, are you sure? Okay, and we'll make this recap pertain to Pennsylvania, right? We don't have to talk about the other ones, but it is true. So I've been hearing for a long time that everybody leaves Pennsylvania thinking they won, Republicans, and again, almost 30 years, and every time they lose by a lot. So I thought we were going to win. These three characters were saying, don't worry about it, Mr. Trump, you're going to win. I'll tell you, Marino, He said, I've been doing this for a long time, Mr. Trump. I guarantee you victory. I said, write it down. He said, nope, I'm not doing that. Okay. I wanted a guarantee. But right from the beginning, they were with me. But they felt so sure. The only problem was, I kept hearing all these things that nobody ever wins, even though they think Pennsylvania. So what happens is the evening begins, and Ohio, what a great place. I had a little problem. It's pretty hard to win states when you don't have the governor, right? Pretty hard. Pretty hard. But you know what? He's called. Would have been nice if he called a couple of weeks earlier. He called. He's been very nice. But we were supposed to win Ohio by 2 points, maybe 3 points. We won it by almost 10 points, right? So that was good. And we got those bad exit polls. They were phony polls, okay? What they don't know is what's the purpose of them doing phony polls when you're going to know the real answer in 3 hours? What are they doing? They can't help themselves, right? So we got these bad exit polls. We really thought, based on the exit polls, it was going to be a very short evening, meaning bad. And Jared was here, and Ivanka, they called and they said, Dad, and you got to understand, I got home from Michigan at 4 in the morning. I made a speech in Michigan where I started speaking at 12:30 in the evening. That means on election day. That was my 7th speech of the day. 7. And the crowds are all like this. And the beauty about a crowd like this? This place is packed. But there's a difference between before the election and after the election, right? Before the election, you people are like wild beasts, wild animals. We're going to win, Mr. Trump. We're going to win. They're screaming, jail, jail, prison, we're going to win. Right? Right? They're going crazy. Now, they're screaming, we want the wall, build the wall, Mr. Trump. And we're going to build the wall, don't worry about it. Okay. But it is true. I was telling somebody backstage, and now the crowds are amazing. And it's hard to get a big crowd after an election. If somebody else, a normal person, came after an election, even after a victory, you'd have 15 people. People would say, we had enough, we're not going. And this place is packed. This is a big stadium, by the way. But there's something different about a crowd before the election, like when I was here a few weeks ago, and after the election. Before the election, they are brutal. They are so crazed. You're like crazed people, and that's good. I like that. And now you're laid back. Hey, baby. Hey, onward, Mr. Trump, onward. Right? No, it's great. It's beautiful. In other words, you've won, and you feel great about it, and you don't have to go totally wild. Right? It's much different. No, it's much different. It's different. No, it's much different. You're laid back, and that's good. This is not really exactly laid back, but it's pretty laid. So we had to win Pennsylvania, but it started off with Ohio, big victory. And the one I like to tell is Texas, Georgia, and Utah, right? Because they started off about 2 months before the election. Now, you just don't lose Texas as a Republican, right? You don't lose. And you don't lose Georgia, and you don't lose Utah. I don't think Utah's ever been. Jeffrey, has Utah ever been lost? Just keep saying what you say. You know what he says? He's like Ronald Reagan. That's all he has to say. It's good. Donald Trump is like Ronald Reagan. We love you, Jeffrey. This guy takes such abuse on CNN. Do we love him? I hope he's getting paid a lot of money because he deserves it, believe me. But it's sort of incredible. But what happened is they're saying, Texas is in play. Texas is in play, right? Is that Texas? I said, Texas has never been in play. And then I go to Texas, I make a speech, and we have an arena that's bigger than this one. It's packed, 10,000 people outside. And I say, how can it possibly be in play? But you saw it, right? So they say, Texas is in play. Then they say, Georgia. Now, Georgia, we're supposed to win by a lot. And they have me even, right? And then they say Utah, and in Utah they have this character. I never saw a guy like this. No, I never saw a guy like this. This guy was like horrible. And they said, the third party candidate looks like he's got Trump in trouble. And my wife looks at him and says, you're not going to lose. She knows more than these dishonest people. And they knew it. They knew it. They knew it. So what happens, you know what happened, because you're watching. They had a record audience, the biggest they've ever had. And it opens. The polls open. And now they're closed. And now they go on live all over the country, really all over the world. And the first thing they do, Texas has gone to Donald Trump. I said, what happened? I thought I was... And they always started off with, we have breaking news, right? We have breaking news, like, about 12 seconds after the show up. This is a state that I was supposed to be like, go late in the night. We have breaking news. Texas has gone to Donald Trump. I said, man, that's good, because I'm a little worried, That's why nobody believes these people. Then about 12 seconds later, we have breaking news. Georgia has gone to Donald Trump. Right? Then again, now in my state of Utah, I love Utah. And I couldn't believe that I was tied with this guy. This guy. Nobody ever heard of him. Nobody. And he was saying, if he wins Utah, he thinks he can win the whole thing. I don't understand what we... I'll tell you, what he could have done is if he won Utah, except that we won by so much, he could have stopped us from appointing Supreme Court judges. That's what he could have done, all right? Bad, sort of a bad guy. So I watch this guy, and I hear that basically I'm tied in Utah. And the third one, they go, we have breaking news. Utah has gone to Donald Trump. Thank you. Oh. I would have lost Utah. So now I have these three that are like solidly, we won by Utah. Did you see how many points I won by Utah? This thing wasn't even close, like massive, right? He said huge. They were all huge. Okay, then they go to Ohio, then they go to Iowa, where I just appointed the great governor of Iowa, Terry Branstad, the longest serving governor in our country's history, 24 years almost, to the ambassador to China. He loves China. That's nice. He loves China. In fact, whenever I speak in Iowa, he goes, this is for years. Donald, would you do me a favor? Please don't say anything bad about China. So what? And I didn't, but I just appointed him ambassador to China. He's going to be an amazing representative. He likes them and they like him. They like him a lot and he likes them a lot. So now we start talking, Greg, because I was expected to win Ohio, but not by nearly as much. I was expected to win Iowa, but not by over 10 points. Nobody wins Iowa. So this is like a good story, because when my kids told me about the exit polls, which were nonsense, I sort of thought in my mind, well, I can't work any harder, so I don't feel that bad. I still felt bad, don't worry about it. Until the real polls opened up, right? So then we go down to Florida, and we start. And we're sort of leading, and we're leading, and we're leading, and we haven't even gotten to our area, and boy, do we love the Panhandle, right? And we're leading a little bit, just a little bit. And then they go on the air, the opponents. We will win the state of Florida. The guy said, some guy, I'd never even heard of this guy. He said, we will win the state of Florida. And I say, wait a minute, I'm leading by a little bit, and my voters haven't even been caught on yet, right? He knows what I'm talking about. So, all of a sudden, they have another consultant come out. They probably paid this guy $15 million for destroying her campaign, right? These consultants are the worst. By the way, you know, in the old days, if you spend less money and win, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. That's a good thing. I spent much less money. We spent a fraction of the money and won. You know, I'd have these guys saying, Hillary Clinton has spent much more money than Donald Trump. And when I say much more, I'm talking seriously. And then they say much more money than Donald Trump. And Mr. Trump is ahead by 1 point, but he hasn't spent enough money. I'm saying they're scolding me. I've spent less money and I'm ahead. No, remember this for the kids in the audience. If you can spend less money and win, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. Okay. Good. So, we go to Florida, and all of our people are out saying how they're going to win Florida. And they're saying, we have no doubt. One guy said, we have no doubt we're going to win the state of Florida. And then there was a story about all the buses, you know, because they had this unlimited money. And they had buses lined up all over Florida. And you know who used the buses? My people. They got into the buses and they said, go ahead. And they were all people with the red hat, make America great again. So, because the bus driver doesn't care. He just wants to know, are the seats all full? Yeah, let's go. Well, they don't care. Thank you for those buses. So they're going to win Florida according to her pundits and her geniuses and her pollsters. We have breaking news. Donald Trump has won the great state of Florida by a lot. Then the same pundits get on. And I can tell you, because I had a great conversation with President Obama. And I said to him, no. Although this foolish guy, Josh Earnest, I don't know if he's talking to President Obama. You know, having the right press secretary is so important because he is so bad the way he delivers a message. He can deliver a positive message and it sounds bad. He could say, ladies and gentlemen, today we have totally defeated ISIS, and it wouldn't sound good, okay? All right? I have a feeling they won't be saying it, but I know we will be saying it. But the president's very positive, but he's not positive. And I mean, maybe he's getting his orders from somebody else. Does that make sense? Could that be possible? But I said, when do you think you lost, we won? And I will say this, look, from everybody's standpoint, when Ohio came out with those huge numbers, when Iowa came out with those huge numbers, and then huge, and then we won Florida. So, now the pundits go out again, and they're talking about the great state of North Carolina. We love North Carolina, right? The great state of North Carolina. So, they say there's no way. You have to see how much more money they spent than us. Oh, but those buses were comfortable for our people. You have to see how much money they spent in North Carolina. And they said, North Carolina, you got to understand, I've won like everything now, right? I'm just running. South Carolina was great. So I have Texas and Georgia and Iowa and everything. Now we're coming up. And Ohio, big state. And that was the other thing. You cannot win as a Republican unless you win Ohio. Remember that? And then we won Ohio. So it's looking good. Then we won Florida. But North Carolina was our firewall. Remember they said, nope, you can't win North Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news. Donald Trump has won the state of North Carolina. And now you see these absolutely terrible, terrible, destructive people. They're getting a little nervous. They're getting a little nervous. John King, nice guy, he's got the map. He's good with the map. But his hand is starting to shake. You know, it's got... Oh, my God. Oh, my God, he went. Because remember, they said before the election, there is no path to 270 for Donald Trump. Oh, but there's a path to 306, but there's not. So his hand is... So, now we win North Carolina. And now we get up to Pennsylvania. We are just doing great in Pennsylvania. In fact, I won it twice, right? I won it twice, because I won it. And then we had this scam operation, let's ask for a recount. We won it again. We won Wisconsin, we won Michigan. No, I love it. I hope somebody else asks for a recount, because I love winning. You know, we'll win it 3, 4, 5 times. Actually, they did a full recount in Wisconsin. And I received 138 votes more. Me, I got more votes. Scam. Remember I told you it's a rigged system, right? It's terrible. And not rigged for us, believe me. The other way around. So now we come up to Pennsylvania, and they don't want to put it. But I see we're going to win. In fact, I start doing interviews, because if we win Pennsylvania, it's over, right? So now I'm doing interviews, because it's at 99%, and there aren't enough votes for them to even come close. So people are saying, you can't do interviews now. I said, why not? There's no way. There's no way. So I started doing interviews. I felt very comfortable. They just didn't want to do it. But what happened? Now you watch John King, the hand is shaking, quivering. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump has won Wisconsin. Now that wasn't supposed to happen, right? Then he goes, oh, you could see he's like getting ready to throw up all over the... Ladies and gentlemen, then they go, we have breaking news, and I kept waiting for Pennsylvania. But why wait for Pennsylvania? Because they said, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump has won the state of Michigan. Now they're going, whoa, whoa. Now Wisconsin hasn't been won for 38 years. Michigan hasn't been won for about that or longer. I mean, it's like crazy. And I love Pennsylvania, but we didn't even need you guys. Isn't that terrible? Because they waited so damn long. They took all of your glory away, right? Rob Gleason did a great job, and David did a great job. Great job. Great job. David and Rob, what a job. So now we win the state of Pennsylvania, and it's over. It was an amazing, I'll tell you what, it was an amazing evening. And the people on ESPN, sports people, they said it was the single greatest event they've ever seen. They've seen football and baseball and boxing, and they said it was the greatest. So I just want to thank the incredible people of Pennsylvania, okay? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Incredible people. Unbelievable people. And in 4 years, we're going to win it by even more. And let's ask you something, all right? By even more. All right. Let's get back onto the subject of jobs, right? Because, you know, that's what we're here for. Enough with this stuff. For years, the jobs and wealth have been ripped out of your state and ripped out of our country, like we're a bunch of babies. Foreign powers have gotten rich, bleeding America dry, because we have people that don't know what they're doing, or worse than that. And our politicians stood by and did absolutely nothing. And that is now all about to end, and it's going to end quickly. The era of economic surrender is over. You, the people of Pennsylvania, are finally going to have a champion that fights for you in the White House. Because from now on, it's going to be America first. Remember that. People talk about how we're living in a globalized world, but the relationships people value most are local. Family, city, state, and country. Local, folks, local. There's no such thing as a global anthem, a global currency, or a global flag. Do we love our flag? Do we love our flag? We salute one flag, and that is the American flag. And we're going to make sure the American flag gets the respect it deserves, all right? You know, when I watch the news at night and I see these punks burning the flag and stomping on it and burning another one and stopping. No good, no good. We're gonna maybe have to do something about that. What do you think, yes? Patriotism will be celebrated in our cities and taught very, very strongly to our children. And that patriotism will be the foundation of our economic plan, bringing jobs back to America. We're bringing our jobs back, folks. They've been ripped away. That's why we're going to lower our business tax. We are going to lower our business tax big league from 35% to 15%. Right now, we're one of the highest taxed nations in the world, and we're going to be among the lowest, and we're going to have jobs come pouring back. We want to bring in new companies and new jobs to our shores. That's also why we're going to eliminate job-killing regulations, cancel many executive orders, believe me, we're going to be canceling a lot, and lift the restrictions on the production of American energy, including shale, oil, natural gas, and clean coal. And we are going to put our miners back to work, okay? Get ready. Get those shovels ready. Another critical element of our jobs plan is a historic $1 trillion investment in our crumbling infrastructure. Our infrastructure is going to hell. We're going to fix our infrastructure. You know, we've spent, as of 2 weeks ago, $6 trillion in the Middle East. We could have rebuilt our country 3 times over. And right now, we're in worse shape in the Middle East than we were 15 years ago when we started, by a factor of 10. Our bridges are deficient, our roads are in disrepair, and our airports are like third world countries. I am asking Congress to support the construction of new roads, bridges, airports, tunnels, and railways all across our nation. We're going to do it. And we're going to build it on time, on budget, not for 3 times what it's supposed to cost. And we will put our people back to work in the process. It's time to help get Americans off welfare and back into the labor market. Rebuilding our country with American hands and American workers. We're going to rebuild our country. We're going to do it ourselves, folks. My administration will follow 2 simple rules: buy American and hire American. At the center of this agenda is fixing our absolutely terrible trade deals. I mean, NAFTA, you look at that, it's been defective for 20 years. It's been defective from the day it was signed. It's been defective. Pennsylvania, congratulations, because you're just about at the bottom of the pack in this, has lost more than 1/3 of your manufacturing jobs since NAFTA. Just about as bad as there is in the country. Although I must say, Michigan and a couple of other places have actually done worse. Okay, right? But you're all going to do great now because we're bringing those jobs back. America is now running, listen to this, a nearly $800 billion annual trade deficit. In other words, all these people, they work, they make these trade deals, right? We lose almost $800 billion a year. Who are these people? Any business people in this large audience? You know? Hard to believe. Almost $800 billion a year, and we never make good deals. You know, I actually said to my people today, they're going over Mexico, doesn't work. China is all-time record-setting. We're going to lose $500 billion trade deficit. All of these places, and I said, give me a good deal. You know what they said? There are none. We don't do with anybody. It's almost amazing that our country can even make it, but it's not going to make it for much longer if we don't get this thing going, okay? Now think of it. Think of it. It is so terrible. We've lost, and this one I can't even believe, I say it all the time. We've lost 70,000 factories since China joined the World Trade Organization. Now, I used to say, who signed it? I used to say, who supported it? We don't care anymore, right? You know who I'm talking about, right? I don't care. It's a disaster. It's the greatest jobs theft in the history of the world. Nobody's ever lost like we've lost. All because we got sold down the river by our either stupid politicians or corrupt politicians, all right? Except for these three guys down here, they're great. They're good. A Trump administration will defend American industry, and it will defend the American worker. You've got to be defended. It will defend the American worker. Boy, did we come out and vote. You know, they forgot about the American voter. They talked about everybody, right? They're going to do this group and that group. And by the way, women, thank you very much. I mean, thank you. Women. Thank you, women. I was getting killed. These polls were killing me, the women. Donald Trump has almost no women. And then I'd come and I'd see these signs. Look at those signs. I'd see these pink, beautiful signs. We did great with women. We did great with the African American community. So good. Remember the famous line, because I talk about crime, I talk about lack of education, talk about no jobs. And I'd say, what the hell do you have to lose, right? It's true. And they're smart, and they picked up on it like you wouldn't believe. And you know what else? They didn't come out to vote for Hillary. They didn't come out. And that was the big. So thank you to the African American community. Thank you to the Hispanic community. Incredible. The Hispanic community was great. You know, they all heard the wall, and well, guess what? People that are in our country legally, if they're Hispanic, they don't want people coming in and taking their jobs. They don't want people coming in and taking their homes. They want to see safety. So the Hispanic community was fantastic. And the evangelical Christians, unbelievable. We set records, right? Set records. And I shouldn't say this is terrible, but as a couple of our pastors, Pastor Jeffress, a couple of them, Reverend Gray, you know, how good was Billy Graham? Was he the greatest, right? Well, he's got a son, Franklin. And Franklin Graham would say, and Paula White, and so many others that say, Donald Trump may not be perfect, but he's going to be the best leader by far. Right? May not be perfect. They were great. What great people. We set an all-time record in the history of elections in this country with the evangelicals, and that is really cool. And that includes what happened in the primaries. Remember in the primaries, I was going to lose all these different states because of the evangelicals, and then I'd win by 22 points. Like, as an example, South Carolina, like Alabama, like Arkansas, like so many, Kentucky. And they were all saying, wow, Donald Trump is doing fantastically with the evangelical Christians. He's doing fantastically, but I knew. But we did even better in the general election. So we had the all-time highest vote in the history of elections with the evangelicals, right? Our goal is to bring back a very beautiful phrase. Do you remember when we were young, some of us, some of you are so, you don't remember because you're so young already. We have a young audience. Do you remember we had stamped onto cars and stamped onto equipment, made in the USA, right? Made in the USA, right? Even the young people like it. And frankly, if it said made in Japan or made someplace else, it wasn't considered good. It wasn't considered good. We're going to bring back made in the USA. And we're going to have a lot of jobs come back. We're going to have a lot of jobs. And you know what? If companies leave and fire their workers, they leave Pennsylvania, or they leave Indiana, or they leave any one of the states we're talking about, or any state in the Union, they leave and they go to Mexico or some other country, plenty of them, and they think they're going to fire everybody and they're going to have their product come right through those weak borders. Oh, those borders are going to be so strong now. And they're going to sell that product, and that product isn't going to be taxed, probably at a rate of about 35% for the people that live. And here's what's going to happen. You know, the people that write the articles, they say Donald Trump is not a free trader. No, I'm a smart trader. Okay, smart trader. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to put that tariff on. Company leaves, makes their air conditioning. Carrier was very nice, by the way, I have to tell you. I mean, what they don't know is the people that did go down there, it's going to be a little hard to sell that product back in, but we won't talk about that. But Carrier was fantastic. They really were. And I hope you go out and buy some Carrier air conditioners, because they're one of the few that are left in this country. And I told the people at Carrier, you saw the publicity that got, and we have thousands of people, families, that are going to have great Christmases in Indiana now because of that. But I told them, you're going to make up a lot because you're going to do a lot of business, and a lot of people are feeling very strong about what they did. But it's going to be that they will have consequences when they leave our country and think they're going to sell the product right back over a border, no tax, no nothing. Because you know what? It doesn't work that way for other countries. You look at what China's doing. China taxes our products going into China, big league, and they don't want us anyway. They don't even want the tax. You take a look at other countries. So when they talk about free trade, it's free for them, but it's not free for us, all right? Not free for us. So that's the way it is. But we have to be a rich nation again. And we have to be a safe nation. The murder rate in the United States is the largest that it's been in 45 years. Nobody knows that. They don't tell you that. Do you guys ever say that? No, they don't say that. They don't want to hear it. And we are going to support the incredible men and women of law enforcement. And we are going to bring this terrible crime wave to an immediate end, and it can go quickly. One of the greatest public safety threats remains open borders. I always say, there goes your safety, there goes your country. We will build a great, great wall, and we will put an end to illegal immigration. And we are going to stop the drugs from pouring into our country and poisoning the youth of Pennsylvania and every other state. It'll stop. We're going to build the wall. We're going to build the wall. We have to. You know, the Border Patrol, you know this, 16,500 great people, because their job is much tougher when I win, because we're going to enforce the laws. They want to enforce. They endorsed me. First time they've ever endorsed a presidential candidate. ICE, the men and women of ICE. They're smart, they're tough, they love the country. They endorsed Us. It's not me, it's us. First time they've ever endorsed. What does it mean? It means you have to work harder. But these are people that know what they're doing. We're going to break up the gangs. We're going to break up the cartels and the criminal syndicates terrorizing our cities and our neighborhoods. And they're being terrorized. Just take a look on Long Island, New York, and you take a look at what's happening out there. It is really bad. And our local police know exactly who they are and want to do something about it. And they're being stopped. So we're going to work on that. We're going to get a safe country to protect our country from terrorism and extremism. I will suspend immigration and refugee admissions from regions where they cannot be safely processed or vetted. We will keep radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. We keep them out. We got enough problems. We got enough problems, right? We got to bring our jobs back. We don't want problems. And we'll build safe